Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
You forget where you are, Chip?
Already.
And I'm CJ. Welcome to the show.
TIIF. Here we go.
Well, we have an amazing announcement because right now, as we're speaking here on the show, something just went live. So let's find out what that is. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the tickets are now available. Yes, they are. Spindle City Straight Talk tickets to the People's Debate, Question 2, Lifting the Cap, have just become available. They are online live now. We are limited to 518 tickets. This broadcast will be live statewide. We already have over 100 tickets gone, and the tickets just went live to the general public. This is going to be a hot issue. Should we lift the cap on charter schools, or should we keep the cap the way it currently is? Currently on FRC Media, with our sister programs, The Richard Urban Show, Neighborhood News, Amigos, and Necessary Media, we are bringing you both sides of the issue on Question 2, Lifting the Cap. Please be watching these shows regularly, and you will find out the information on lifting the cap. It's going to be a great show, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. This is going to be a really big event. We are going crazy already, and we're 46 days away. 44 days away. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this pans out.
And it is an extremely important issue. Education, obviously, regardless of what side you're on, the average voter needs to be informed. This is going to be a pretty, I think it's going to be contentious at times. A lot of people are protecting their turf, but the fact is that probably there needs to be tweaking on both sides of that issue, regardless of how that question comes out, because you know I'm a strong proponent of reforming ed reform.
Yes.
This state has created a monster in its educational system, and a monster that's not doing its job. So everybody get your tickets quick, because they're going to go quickly. There are people from both sides of that issue.
From all over the state.
From all over the state. That's the other thing. The other thing is that, remember, this is not a Fall River issue. This is a statewide issue. This is an issue for charter schools in every city and town in the state of Massachusetts. And every public school, every public school system in the state has a dog in this fight. And as do every charter school in every city and town in this Commonwealth have a dog in this fight. So it's going to be it's going to be a very well attended debate, and if you want to see it live in living, nauseous color, come get your tickets quickly.
And remember, this forum, this debate, will always take questions from who? From you,
the people. That's
because
right.
This is information you want. So as we do with all debates, email your questions to debate@sccstonline.com. And then our producers, our staff will review these questions, and we'll make this happen. We will pick the questions that we feel need to be asked of both sides, and they will be asked. There is going to be no favoritism here. We're already getting volunteers from the various clubs at the various colleges and from around the area and the schools to serve as staff and volunteers here at the event. We are expecting a huge showing, so please get your tickets early and get them soon. You can find the links on our Facebook pages for Southcoast Media and for Spindle City Straight Talk. And they just went live less than 6 minutes ago. So a little bit of good news, or a little bit of bad news, depends on how you want to look at it. The U.S. Department of Labor announced that the payroll employment increased by 151,000 in August. And the unemployment rate remains unchanged at 4.9%. Now, they were projecting 180,000 new jobs. And I guess they fell short by about 29,000 jobs. But I think it's rather interesting that this happens.
And it is still a drop in the bucket when you look at the fact that 150,000 jobs didn't change the rate, because just think of how many millions of people are employed or unemployed in this country. So, yeah, it's an interesting statistic, and Fall River will always be interested in that statistic, because whatever that is, we're always higher.
We're always higher because, we shoot to be number one.
That's right.
Even if that means shooting number one to be at the bottom. So, this week, not even this week, it actually was on September 1st. So, yes, it wasn't this week.
Yeah.
The Fall River City Council, once again, bad city council. The Attorney General found them guilty of a Mass General Law 30A violation. That's the open meeting law. But when you look at the order, I find it quite interesting. They were found guilty for failing to approve its meeting minutes, and the Attorney General does not consider a delay of 2 to 3 months a timely manner. Well, at Fall River, it's usually 2 or 3 years, but further, the City Council has a long-standing practice of drafting minutes but not approving them. Bad City Council. And also, the City Council failed to properly respond to these complaints, and the Attorney General ruled that the City Council failed to meet within 14 days of the filing of the complaint to address the complaint or request an extension to respond to the complaint. The City Council took nearly 4 months to respond, and as such, failed to comply with the law. Now, the Attorney General orders that for reasons stated, we find that the council violated the open meeting law by failing to approve its meeting minutes in a timely manner and by failing to respond to open meeting law complaints within 14 business days. We order immediate and future compliance with the open meeting law requirements, and we caution that similar future violations may be considered evidence of intent to violate the law. Additionally, we order the council within 60 days of receipt of this determination to approve the backlog of draft minutes of its meetings held since July 1, 2010.
Oh, God.
6 years.
Yeah, well, we know what a horror show that's going to be.
I spoke to city officials on how they're going to handle this, because the department that handles this record keeping does not have an overtime budget. So again, the city taxpayer is taking it in the face because the city council can't do its job. And they haven't been able to do it since 2010. The worst part about this is the Attorney General alluded in their decision that they would have gone back further, but that the law changed on July 1, 2010 to give the Attorney General jurisdiction. Prior to that, it was the district attorney who never did anything. So this decision is available online on the Attorney General's website. You can read it there. But it makes for interesting reading. And I said in my article when I announced this, after I received it, be careful, Fall River. People are watching. And this is something they don't understand.
Yeah, well, we have to abide by the rules, and this city has never done that. How many times have we gone to Boston and heard Boston judges said, I'm sick and tired of you people ignoring the law? And that's the problem. The law only applies to the people. If you go in front of the city council, they will hold you to the letter of their restrictive time parameters.
I was going to say that 3-minute law.
And even though that it flies in the face of this country, which we should have a special on this, but that's the thing. The thing is, again, city council didn't do this, and for the people who are going to complain about the complaint, well, if what good is the law if everyone isn't held accountable, and if there are no consequences for actions that violate the law? What do you get? You get chaos and anarchy, and that's what happens.
And the thing is that the Attorney General can assess a $1,000 fine on each member of the City Council for each violation. Now, currently, there's 3 pending violations just on the Ordinance Committee, and potentially a 4th. And it seems that that corporate council just sends out the results or the responses to these complaints almost immediately, 3 to 4 days before they even get them and are able to act upon them. But it's very interesting because now, as they've been told, you have 14 days. And now in most cases, that won't be a problem because the city council can meet every 14 days. They usually do. But the committees don't meet every 14 days. The boards don't meet every 14 days. So they're going to have to actually either meet or have a formal request for an extension. And the kicker to it is this. Don't do it the wrong way, and you won't have to have a special meeting in 14 days. Follow the law. But that's another story. Okay, now we get into the juicy stuff.
Oh, boy, I can't wait for this, baby.
You are being robbed. Imagine that.
No.
You, the taxpayer, are being robbed. And why do we say that you're being robbed? Well, you know, because this is how it works. So let us immediately go to our favorite of all-time scenarios. Screw you, taxpayer!
Oh, yes.
Okay. Now, the city is going to enter into an agreement with the Atlantis Charter School to buy land, swamp land, lots of swamp land, okay, and 3.7 acres of land that is undeclared amount of money. Now, here's the kicker behind this, and, you know, I've already got, before I even started talking about this, or imagining bringing this forward on the show, I had already been receiving phone calls. I received emails regarding this, okay? And when you start looking at this, you go, wait a minute, what's going on? $2 million proposed plan by the administration. Yes, the mayor, the two. That involves donated land from the Atlantis Charter School, $1 million road funded by and built by
the
city.
Taxpayers. It says built by the city, but remember, every time it says built or bought, it's your tax dollars that are buying.
That's right.
Let's make
and
that
the
clear.
acquisition of more acreage along the shores of the South Watuppa Pond. Now, why do they want this acreage? To make another wastewater treatment plant. So not only will we have a stink factory in the south end of Fall River that we can't run properly, that we have to truck our crap out of the city and pay millions of dollars to do that because the director of utilities couldn't keep up with the regulations, I'm quoting him, and so we had to shut down the incinerator down there that took care of the sludge. We're going to build another one up by the South Watuppa so that when we have 6 million gallons of effluent, that's raw sewage, that accidentally gets dumped into the Taunton River, well, now it's going to be accidentally dumped into the South Watuppa Pond. So you're going to have crap on one end and crap on the other. So guess what? We're going to be a crap sandwich.
And again, we're subsidizing nonprofits and companies that don't contribute anything to the city. They virtually hire no Fall River people, i.e. Amazon.
Right.
And they're paying no taxes, yet that tax liability goes into our tax base, and you, the taxpayer, pay it. And again, now we're doing it with the John Boyd Center. They're going to relocate. We're going to buy some land from them, 3.7 acres. And that's a nonprofit, I believe.
Yes, it is.
And I've been there many times. I actually know the nun who runs it. It's a very good facility. It's been around forever. It's been in numerous locations. But again, look, these people don't pay taxes. They don't do, and now they're going to get money again, and they're going to get helped. When is the taxpayer going to get helped? And
I'll take a tiff.
And this is what the mayor said. Quote, I definitely think it's a win-win-win, not a win-win, a win-win-win. It's a triple win, unquote, said Mayor. Said Mayor Jazel Correa, the two. Quote, it's a win for the neighborhood because they raised serious concerns about the traffic and the entrance and exit on Dickinson Street. Well, if you didn't put it there, maybe they wouldn't be worried about the traffic, right?
That's right.
So it was your choice. So deal with it. You know, I mean, the residents should say, look, you know, NIMBY, not in my backyard. We saw it with We saw it with that. But that's the problem. There's an ulterior motive, and you can't convince me otherwise. Then it says we really made sure that that was taken care of. It's a win for the charter school because they get an entrance on Jefferson Street that will be partly paid for by the city. Why do we have to pay to pave roads and move things, especially? Now, if you did this for a company that was paying mega taxes, that employed a whole bunch of Fall River people, it's still something you would question, because this is not what this taxpayer dollars for. Well, the taxpayers' dollars are for the city. But no, again, it's for nonprofits,
people that don't pay a dime.
Give nothing back to the city.
Yep.
All they do is take. And
you know, the
I'm
thing
sorry,
is that
I'm not anti-John Boyd School, but I'm anti-stop raping me.
Right. And you know, the thing is that we had the same situation occur with Anthony Cordero and Larry Kudu, if you remember, under the Flanagan administration, when the city paid for a private company for sidewalks, landscaping, and roads. And the city paid for all of that. And what have we gotten back from it? Well, now we get 130 some odd units of market rate housing where there's no parking for. But they're going to give them their certificates of occupancy, I'm sure. Now, what was very interesting was, and you have a copy of the email there.
Yep.
A quote from City Councilor Richard Cabaceres. Richard Cabaceres, City Councilor, responds to the question about the $2 million driveway the city is building for Atlantis. The way it was proposed to me is that we are purchasing land to build a future water treatment facility. Why? Why? You know, this is what we call political bull.
Yeah.
Okay, and guess what? That's why you need the new water treatment facility, because the politicians are spewing so much feces, so much crap.
Well,
and all that crap is costing you $2 million plus. $2 million plus.
Yeah, well, look, let's face a fact. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Let's face a fact here. Okay, City Councilor Cabaceres, that's what's proposed. But as a councilor, you're supposed to research these things and look at the entirety. You know, this is a standard political ploy. How many times have we seen legislation go through with attachments? And congressmen and senators and state senators, and they attach little grapes for their constituents to bills, and then it slides through as part of a bill. This is another situation. They're going to talk about the sewerage plant, but they're not going to talk about the money we're spending to do things that, really we shouldn't be doing. Do you subsidize your neighbor's driveway to make it more convenient for him? Especially if your neighbor doesn't pay taxes and you do. I mean, this again, government is like a giant vacuum cleaner, and its sole purpose is to suck the life out of the taxpayer. They don't, here's a city that's in the toilet financially, and they're figuring out more and more ways to spend money. Do we need a new sewerage plant? I don't know. Have we had a study? Are we going to have the guy who forgot to file the paperwork for the CSO claim, so now we're paying for it because he was on vacation? Are we going to have the guy that said, as a department head, he can't keep up with the regulations? He's the guy that's going to tell us what we need? We're not going to have a full and transparent examination of this. It's not going to go before the city. We're not going to have hearings on this. They just tell you, we need a new sewerage plant. And by the way, a couple of my friends are getting a little bit out of this deal too. That's the bottom line. So wake up. Well, and look at look at everything they're doing with this money. That we may be getting a new sewerage plant, but I'm not even sure we need a new sewerage plant.
That's right. And, according to,
we should, because there's a lot of crap in this city.
Exactly. But also, according to the director of public utilities, I can't keep up with the EPA regulations, and that's why the new one's falling apart. Which, by the way, the one that we have is currently under contract by an outside company to manage it because the city couldn't do it, and even with giving it to somebody else, the city still screws it up.
Yeah, I gotta add one thing, CJ.
Go ahead.
You go from this email. Okay, but it says, we're buying an additional 3.7 acres for an undisclosed price. See,
Right.
That's very important too.
Exactly.
Again, when the hell do you walk into a store and buy something that you don't know the price of? It's
I do it all the time.
It's like, really? I mean, it's like when you walk into a restaurant and they put market price. You better ask how much that costs.
Exactly.
Because if they don't have the price on a menu, you might not have enough money to pay for it.
That's right.
But this is the city. And you know why they don't care? Because it's not their money.
That's right. So we're going to keep an eye on this, but I'm going to tell you now, it's funny this comes up at the same time that question 2 comes up, because if I were on the vote no on 2 side, I would be touting this around the city like a flag, saying, look at this, $2+ million. So better wake up and smell the coffee, Fall River, because your tax dollars are going out the window. And now it's time for the next attack. Again, on the screw you taxpayer line, I filed a 6610 request on July 25th on the Great Feast of the Holy Ghost. And I got the response this week. And let me tell you something, taxpayer. You are taking it up the crapper. These are documents provided by the City of Fall River Police Department. All right? Right off the top, let's look at this. A breakdown of costs incurred by the City of Fall River Police Department for providing all police services, functions, traffic control, parking control, and crowd control provided during the 2015 Great Feast of the Holy Ghost. The total cost incurred by the Fall River Police Department for the above categories is $22,992.34. A copy of any line items that may exist in the Fall River Police Department budgets, in-house or otherwise, showing planned expenditures for the 2015 feast and projected 2016 feast. No specific line item budget exists for police expenditures for the Great Feast of the Holy Ghost. The cost for police services comes from the department's overtime budget. Ooh. A breakdown of any receipts that the Fall River Police Department may receive for the provisions of services by the City of Fall River Police Department obtained from the Great Feast of the Holy Ghost or on their behalf. The Fall River Police Department does not receive any receipts from the Great Feast of the Holy Ghost. A copy of the number of hours paid or unpaid for details that work the Great Feast of the Holy Ghost during 2015 and projected hours that are planned for the 2016 event, including hours provided by the Fall River Auxiliary Police. The Fall River Police Department utilized 502 hours of overtime during the 2015 Great Feast of the Holy Ghost. Additionally, 24 auxiliary officers were utilized during the 4-day event on a volunteer basis. Although unable to predict specific future events, it is feasible that the 2016 Great Feast of the Holy Ghost cost will be similar to past years, which is actually mistaken because they expanded it one day. So let's look at this. $22,000 a year just on the ancillary expenses, parking, etc., whatnot. Now, the average police officer on a private detail gets $60 an hour. That's your average overtime. 502 hours times $60 an hour, average overtime, equals $30,120 annually that the citizen of Fall River taxpayer pays for a religious event. Hold on, Chip. Don't go. I know where you're going. Don't go there yet. Now, over 30 years, because the feast is in its 30th year, that equates to $903,600. Projecting the extra day in 2016, with 502 hours being utilized in 2015, that's going to equate to 628 hours. times $60 equals $37,680 in overtime this year for a religious event.
Yeah, well, way too many numbers.
Okay? A religious event. Here's what you're looking at. Over $30,000 a year being paid for a religious event on taxpayer money. I think that comes under no government shall endorse, support, or propagate any religion. There is a separation of church and state.
Yeah, well, let me tell
And
you.
let's be real. If they had to pay just for the overtime, they'd make no money at all, according to their own IRS filings. This is how the taxpayer is being screwed. And now I'm going to expand this to the boat races.
You're going to let me get something in before
Now
the
you can
last
take
many
it.
seconds? All right. Way too many damn numbers.
Oh, yeah.
Way too many numbers. We don't need to read all these numbers all the time. Because the fact is, number one, I'm not even sure if it's legal for them to spend overtime money that was budgeted for police overtime for a private entity, a religious entity that conflicts with the law of the land, and it's discriminatory. Because if I want to have the great feast of the Fall River Witches Association down there, they're not going to provide me with free police. They're going to charge me, just like Bristol Community College wants to charge us for the security officers that have to be at the debate.
Correct.
So we have to pay. And that debate is about education. It's about what this institution is. So that's what bothers me. And number one, is it legal? And number two, how do we end up paying for this crap? And nobody ever said. City Council voted for an overtime budget for police overtime for very specific reasons. It's in their contract. Since when do we give free overtime? Only to people who are well-connected and people who they want to pander to. Because the council can walk around and shake hands and stuff. And 75 to 80% of the people at that feast aren't from Fall River. They're from Canada. They're from all over the place. Somerset, Swansea, you name it. And we're paying every single year, like we're paying for the roads, like we're paying for everything. Am I angry? You're damn right I'm angry. They never stop. Never stop. And look, I'm not begrudging the police overtime. But if I run a function, I've got to pay the police officer. If you have something and they require a police officer, you're damn well going to pay it. Even though you've paid your taxes for the last 40 years. You think the city's going to go, oh, don't worry about it. You got a TIF on this one. Don't worry. You got a TIF on your property taxes. You don't have to pay for the police officer that you have to hire. Not in this lifetime. It's not happening. Because this is this is outrageous. It's outrageous that this feast gets what it gets because it's a violation of the separation of church and state. That's the bottom line.
Well, we will be on the air on Monday. We'll be taping that show today. We won't be live. But I'll tell you now, we're going to talk about this a little more on that episode. And we're not going to stop there. You have a great day and a great long weekend, and we hope to see you.
Remember, it's Labor Day. It's about the working people.
That's right.
That doesn't include the 6th floor.